Hi everyone, Jan back here. So obviously this is going to be part 2 because I guess I had it paused for too long while I sewed it up, so I still have to work with that. But again, I've just decided I don't want to try and do it all over again. I have stitched up the card, as you can see, and I've just used a cream color thread. Now what I do is I stitch around the edges of the actual opening of my template, and then I go also back around to close up the card. If you don't want to do any sewing, you're welcome to glue it all down. I like sewing. I like the look of the stitches. And so the next thing that I do is I take some scrap paper. I save scraps like you wouldn't believe, but you've got to be neat about it and, you know, put them away, otherwise they're all over the place. But I want some off-white paper, and I'm just going to use my scissors that have one of these little wonky edge type things. I don't know what it's called. This one, oh, here it is. This one's called a deckle edge, D-E-C-K-L-E. That is my favorite edging that I like to use. And I'm just going to cut the ends off here. Do it this way. And then I'm going to ink it up. I like that old look that ink gives things. And again, I'm using the Vintage Photo by Tim Holtz. Just a little bit on there. And take some glue. And I use the Fabrifix just about for everything, especially for it's great on paper. Just put it around there. And I just center it. Sometimes, depending on how I've cut it all out, I might use this, put it on the side, but generally always it goes on the bottom. I just use my bone folder here. I'm telling you, it is a useful tool. I just centered it, and that's what I'm going to do to write my name of the flower on the card. What I use are these Faber-Castell artist pens. They're in a sepia, so it's kind of a brown. I've used these. I've had this packet for a couple of years now, and I keep using it and keep using it. I would say I've had it, good grief, I think I've had it for like 4 years, and it's still going strong. But I like the super fine. It's different edges. This is Mexican Heather, so I just, you know, write it out. When I first started doing this, I would practice writing it, and so that got me over my fear of doing it. Now I just do it, and it's like, yeah, if it messes up, I'll just take it off and redo the whole thing again. So the next and final step on this is to ink my edges. And remember how I told you, depending on the threads and stuff and how they're going to look, the reverse, when you're sewing on paper, the reverse threads can always look a little bit icky, I think. And I like it, but I also don't like it to be too pale. So I go and ink those on the reverse, and you'll see what I mean. You can see it's kind of raised. So in addition to the edges here on the reverse, I'm just going to go over like this and cover up that glaring pale color of the threads. Okay. And if you want, you can use these as greeting cards, journal cards, whatever. You can write here, or you can even cut out a piece of paper that fits in there and put it there. That's if you want to. I don't care to do that on this size. But I have started making some larger ones where I just give more space. And to do that, for instance, you know, we started off with a full sheet, and I would put a small card on this side, which left a lot more space over here. Well, here's the space that I cut off. And then I would just leave this piece as a larger piece, and then put a little notepad type thing here, and then leave that open on this side as a pocket and sew around it. But let's see where I think we're about finished actually. So there is my first tutorial. Hopefully it will look somewhat decent. And then I want to tell you also about what I use for pressing flowers. Now, I started pressing flowers, I've done it on and off here and there, but never what I'm doing now. And I would just get a large book. And of course I have lots of books because I love to read and I love to write. So I would get large books. My husband's huge physics books. Best thing that ever happened to those physics books. They're Greek to me. Math and I do not get along very well. We sort of agree to disagree. But lovely big books, and I would put the flowers in between. I've since learned that it's best to put the flowers in between a white piece of paper, just a plain, you can even use the composition notebook paper that's lined, you know, something like that, but it needs to be white because you don't want any inks, you know, smearing anywhere. And I would just put them between two pieces of paper and then put it in between the book. And I'll put several flowers in one book if it's large enough. And then the key is let the book alone for at least 3 weeks. And if you can, put weight on it. And what I generally do is I've got these rigid placemats, and so I'll put 1 or 2 books down, and then I'll put the placemats on top of them, and then put some kind of weighted something or other, so that you're getting weight and pressure all at the same time. But again, they need to be in those books at least 3 weeks. The old-fashioned what do you call it? Phone books, those were great, but hold on just a moment. I'm going to put this on pause for a second. Okay, so I'm back again. Had to take care of a little family issue there. Not that we ever have issues, haha. But anyway, so that's what I did as far as doing pressed flowers with books. Now, my husband, of course, he's very good at making things. This is a small press that he made me. And, let's see, well, this one's undecorated. He's also made me some that are like this big. He gets a little carried away, but he wanted to use up all of his scraps. But this is much more involved, and that's 2 pieces of wood that are heavier, and these are thinner pieces of wood. And you just layer them. You cut it down to size, you cut the holes in, because these you want to be able to tighten. You can see how this is a new batch that's being done. And there's the reverse. And you get these screws and nuts and bolts and whatever it is they're called. You get that at someplace like Hobby Lobby, or well, actually not Hobby Lobby, where is it? Home Depot. That's where we get ours. Lowe's also has them, but we're Hobby Lobby people. So, and you just literally, I'll put a piece of plain white paper down, then I'll put one of the thin wooden pieces down, and then a plain white paper, then the flower, then plain white paper, then another sheet, and you just kind of layer it and sandwich it up. And then what I've also found that really helps me, because especially if I'm doing a lot of it, I write just a note, put it on the top, exactly what's in there, so that I'll know what's there at any time. Now, what I've also seen is using 2 pieces of wood, but instead of these smaller pieces here, to use very stiff cardboard, which also works. The trick is just using something that's going to be firm, and you're going to evenly cut the cardboard down so that it will fit your wood, and then you can tighten it up. Now, you don't have to have this tight or this large of a piece of wood for cardboard. But anyway, I would say, like I said, try and give it at least 3 weeks in your press or in your books, and then go for it. And then what I do is pull them all out, and as I said, I start putting them in these protectors. There's just some here. And that's, you know, sheet protectors. That's all it is. Walmart, keep it as cheap as you can, or Hobby Lobby in those places, but use your coupons. And that's how I do it. So, I hope this has been helpful. give me your questions, your comments. I would really appreciate it, and hopefully you'll actually see this video and that I won't throw it out. But it is part 2 of 2. Thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate all of your comments, but also just your subscriptions to my channel, and it's wonderful to hear from people all over the world. It's just amazing. So you all have a blessed day. This is Jan Fursdon from Madison, Alabama, signing off. Take care and have a blessed week. Bye-bye.